when the Moors moved into Spain after colonizing some regions. What they brought with them was science, exploration, and other great arts. Here's something that we need to consider. Columbus said that he was the first to discover the American continent. But in fact, if we think about it, in his time, he was quite naive, for he thought he was going to run across India simply by traveling west. Before him was the Mansa, who traveled west in order to find what else was out there. And thinking that there were great treasures somewhere in the sea and that he could run across some piece of land, he traveled. But what we don't know is that the Moors that had lived in Spain were so curious, even at the beginning, that only a couple hundred years after their conquest, they decided to travel west. And maps written by Al Masudi make it quite obvious that they ran into a continent at a time that they should have not thought there was a continent in that region. But just like the Spanish people after them, they should have thought that you would go straight to India or Japan. But maps that show that there you go. In the book, Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gems, written in 956 AD, at a time that we think no one should know about any American continent. It says, there are some wonderful stories related respecting it, for which we refer the reader to our book, the Akbar Zaman. There he will find an account of those crews who have risked their lives in navigating the sea, and who of them have escaped and who have been shipwrecked. So what they have encountered and seen, such as the adventurer was a Moor of Spain of the name Koshkash. He was a young man of Cordoba. Having assembled some young men, they went on aboard a vessel which they had ready on the ocean, and nobody knew for a long time what had become of them. At length they came back loaded with rich booty. Their history is well known among the people of Al Andalus. Now, I have to stress, even though this is accounted for in historical record, and this was a popular theme in Al Andalus at the time, and the story was depicted, and not only this, there were several other expeditions to that region, even though it was thought to be very difficult to reach. As you can see, he talks about how some people died on the way there. So the story mimics almost everything that happens years later. Like, for example, if you look at the Musa that went to the Americas, his first crew that tried to travel that direction died, and only one ship made it back. And on the second try, we don't even know if they came back or not. On the one with Columbus, we know that some people made it there and some people made it back, but not everybody did. And we know that it was a hard thing, but we know that when they got there, there was a lot of treasures. As soon as they got there, they found lots of treasures. And this guy also depicts finding treasures. If this story is 100% true, which there's no reason to believe it's not, it's just that we don't have any foolproof evidence that he went there. I don't know how you would get that outside of finding some evidence of Islamic pre-Columbian Americans. There is no real way of proving it, but I want to document it so that you guys know that during the 900s, they knew 100% that if you go to the west, you will find, west of Spain, you will find a continent, not an island, not a, they say a continent. And the map makes it quite clear that there's several ports on this continent. And unlike the Europeans later, they do not make the mistake of thinking that they have reached India. These Islamic scholars are not alone in their assertions, for there are Chinese scholars that speak about the Middle East and how far it went. And you can see in this map here, that's a reconstruction, that there's a place called Mulan. This Mulan is as far west as you could go, and it is thought to have been traversed by Middle Easterners, at least it's written down, by Shao Kufei in his Lingwai Daida, which is a book that influenced another book called Zufan Shi in 1225, another book that references this place called Mulan. This map here depicts the full knowledge of the Chinese people in terms of the Islamic worlds. And you can see there's a place called Japan. Here, Japan. There's Korea. There's the Great Wall, Yellow River, Yangtze, southern Vietnam. So you see here the world being depicted. Something that's interesting is that they're not connected. Shipan and Mulan B, which gives the impression that they might have not had a full understanding of the connection between two of the areas of the world. But this is showing that it wasn't just referenced once, this further continent away from the main areas of Spain and those areas.